Yep everybody, welcome back to the Outdo Cycling YouTube channel, where today I'm going to be suggesting riders that you should put onto your Velogames Olympics team. So, when you look at the screen, this is currently where I am in the world, and this is from like Liège or something, so we've got some ground to be making up because I want to finish in the top 100. So this is an important race to get right because it is of course a category 1 race, so you get 200 points for the winning rider, so it's an important race to get right if you're going to want to move up in the world rankings. This is currently a team that I've just got on screen. It's just a team that I've been playing around with. I've been looking at riders and I'm thinking, you know, who you shouldn't be going with on your team. So first off, I'm just going to go through a lot of the riders and just say kind of a yes or a no as to who I think is like a good value for money rider and perhaps who isn't. So Wout, Aert, probably yes. Evenepoel I've got doubts about just because of his lack of racing and the fact that he said that he'd probably be willing to work for Wout in the road race. Pogacar yes, Fulsang no, Kwiatkowski maybe, Roglic again a bit of an unknown, but will probably pull out of the bag. Hershey probably not. Schachmann's been working towards this race, so yeah, quite like Schachmann. Van Avermaet no, Woods no, Valverde yeah, pretty good. He looked alright at the Tour, especially towards the end. Adam Yates I think is a decent shout as well. He's probably the best option Great Britain have. Simon Yates probably not. Asgreen no, Benoit no, Bettiol maybe, Carapaz maybe, Kuznetsov no, Dan Martin maybe, Moscon maybe, Nibali no, Vlasov no. I'm just going to start kind of saying riders that I think are good now, because obviously I'm not going to go for everybody, but riders who I think are good. So Ciccone could be a decent one. Dumoulin, of course, still coming back from like when he took a break from cycling, so a bit unknown, but he can sometimes pull it out. You know, he usually did quite a good performance when it comes to the world, so he could do the same here. Vizagiri brothers, possibly. I'll be favouring Jon. Kelderman is a decent shout because of how he looked at the Tour. Maybe Mollema because he won a stage at the Tour. That's also a pretty a nice one. Some good 16 points as well. Godu, Conrad, Lutsenko, all guys who showed great promise at the Tour de France. So there's no reason why they wouldn't do well here. Valgren can sometimes bring it out for really big races. Usually when the Worlds come around, he just decides to do really well, so he could definitely do the same here for the Olympics. I won't be discounting him at all. 14 pointers, I think Higuita's probably the best guy. 12 pointers is Zhao. He's quite high, low odds, sorry. Yeah, is that right? Yeah, quite low odds to win the race, so actually he's quite good value for money here, because he is only 12. I'd be expecting him to be a bit higher, but of course these are prices set at the start of the season, so they haven't been changed ever since then. Damiano Caruso I like as well. 10 pointers Eddie Dunbar maybe. Mauri van Zevenant. 8 pointers you've got Fraile, you've got Jonathan Navales. 6 pointers there are 3 who I'm going to recommend to you, and that is Tobias Foss, who's there, Jan Tratnik and Gino Maida. There's Maida, and Tratnik's towards the bottom, he's there. 4 pointers I'd probably stay away from, to be honest with you. I don't, but I mean, if you're going to push me to pick either one of them, I'd say Reese maybe. I think he's got a bit more climbing potential than Boyven, but overall I'd probably stay away from the 4 pointers and I'd go with 6 pointers. So with pretty much all those riders gone through, let's go and start making some teams who I think you could be going with. Just some almost like templates for you to use. I think let's go with a scenario where we think that it's going to be like a reduced sprint of kind of, you know, I don't know, 15 riders or something like that. So I'd probably go Wout as your kind of main guy. Pogacar is quite fast in the finish, so I'd be picking Pog. Godu, from what I remember at Liège, you know, he finished 3rd in that group. He beat Valverde, he beat Woods. I think that he would be another rider who could, you know, not win the bunch sprint, but could certainly finish 5th, 6th, something like that. And then of course Valverde is very fast, so you could pick him as well. Put Foss in there. swap out Valverde for Zhao. So you could have a team like that, which is, you know, it's got some fast guys in there. Wout, Pog, your faster guys go do, and Zhao are okay, but not overly fast. If you wanted to put in somebody a bit faster like Valverde, then you just swap out Zhao for the other 6-pointer, which is Tratnik. So you could go with something like that. If you wanted to go full just guys who are fast, of course that depends on how you think the race is going to be played out. If you're thinking, okay, it's not going to be a sprint, it's actually going to be, you know, a solo winner, somebody who attacks really late on, I'd probably be taking Wout out of your team because he's more than likely going to be pretty heavily marked. You know, you could put in Shackman, you could put in Adam Yates, you could put in Betty or Moscon. I'd probably say that a good late attacker would be Lutsenko for 16 points. I think that after his Tour de France, and also his performance at the UAE, this is going to be a hot race, and we know that Lutsenko can go really well in the heat, so Lutsenko with a whole team pretty much just around him of Kazakhstan, I think Lutsenko is a great shout. Probably keep Pogacar in there. I think he's a rider who I'd pretty much persistently say keep Pogacar in your team. I know that he's come from a Tour, he's probably maybe lagged or anything, but Pogacar is just an insane talent, and you just have to pick him on your team, because I'm not going to go with a team where Pogacar isn't in it, because he is just insanely good. With those extra points, you know, you could maybe pick another rider who could go on a long range attack, so Adam Yates possibly could be a shout. So you could go with something kind of like that, where, you know, you got Lutsenko and Yates for long range attacks, and then Pogacar and Valverde as more sprint options. If you wanted to even go like even further, you could, like if you wanted to just not pick Pogacar because I don't know, you don't want to pick him, which is, you know, fair. You could take off Pogacar and put on whoever you think might go for a long range attack. This is all up to some kind of personal jurisdiction from you guys. I think that Mollema would be a guy who'd go for a long range attack. That gives you a few more points to put onto a 6-pointer to perhaps put on another guy who might go long. Valgren could be a good option for that. However, based off of current form, Valgren hasn't looked overly good in the past. Like in the Tour, like he did that one stage, I think it was stage 19, where he went on a long range attack. In terms of what I'm thinking is going to happen in the race, of course, probably go check out our race preview that we're going to be doing. Cam and I are going to be recording that later on today. But I think that it'll probably come down to that. I think it'll be a solo winner. I think that somebody's going to attack with 10k's to go, 6k's to go, just before they get onto the Fuji Speedway circuit, I think it's called. And then just do like a solo lap of the course and then just win by themselves. I think that Lutsenko is probably a really good shout for that. You got to remember that because Wout van Aert is such a big favourite, yes, it's Wout van Aert and he is just a crazy talent, and he might just attack by himself, which is very possible. You know, there's no guarantee that he's going to make it over that really steep climb. I can't remember what it's called. But it's, you know, 6k at like 10% and it's with a section in the middle that averages like 12%. That's really steep for Wout. We saw that, yes, he was climbing well in the Tour, but is he climbing to the extent where he's going to keep up with all those guys? Is he just going to be marked out all the time? Are there just going to be moves going that he just can't mark all the time? I think that that's certainly what I'm thinking about, which is why I'm perhaps leaning towards a team where I don't pick Wout, because I don't want him just to be worked over all the time and then finish in 6th place, a bit like how Tour of Flanders worked earlier this year, where I also had him on my team, where yes, he'll get you a lot of points for finishing inside the top 10, but is there actually just a better value for money rider out there who might finish 4th, who's perhaps 10 points less? I'm kind of concerned with Wout van Aert, and why I'm perhaps leaning towards a team where I have some more attackers. Personally, I think the team that I had on screen at the start was the team that I'm more considering going with. I like Zhao for 12. I think that's a really good shout. I like Lutsenko, Yates, because of course, you know, I'm from Great Britain. You know, I'm not saying that Yates is going to win, but I might just be like biased. But I definitely think that he's Great Britain's best shot of winning the race. Shackman, I kind of like, kind of don't like. I definitely think that he's probably going to be one of the faster guys, one of the faster riders at the finish. But is he the fastest? Is he going to need to do a solo attack? Is he even going to make it over the climb? This is, like I said, it's going to be a really hot race. How does Shackman go in the heat? I think he favours more cold conditions, which is why, you know, especially maybe that brings doubts into Pogacar, because Pogacar didn't, well, he only showed a bit of weakness at Mont Ventoux when it was hot. So if I was to take off, I mean, this is what I'm thinking is my team right now. This is of course due to change, but the very first team that I actually picked was with Wout, with Pog, with Zhao, and with Godu, and then the 2 6-pointers, whatever. That was the first team that I went with, and usually my gut instinct serves me weirdly well. Like, the first team I pick is okay, but you know, I think that this is a very safe team, and I think if you're just looking for a team that just has the favourites in the race, then just go with this team. If you're looking for some long range attackers, of course, pick the guys who I said before. If you're looking for low pointers, don't go any lower than 6 points and just pick Foss, Tratnik, or Maida. Other than that, you know, who is Slovenia going to work for, Pog or Rog? Again, difficult to tell. I don't think that Hershey is the form that he did last year. I don't, you know, don't fall into that trap of thinking that Hershey is the Hershey of last year. I think that definitely something's changed in his training. I think Valverde can't be written off, just because of especially how he looked in the Ardennes earlier this year, where he just finished top 10 in La Flèche, Amstel and Liège. Valverde definitely can't be written off. When you just have a load of unknowns, you know, like a lot of the Italian squad look really good. Bettiol, if he's climbing like he was at the Giro, would be a really dangerous shout. Carapaz, we saw him do a couple of long range attacks in the Tour, which again favours that mentality that I think a long range attack is going to go. Dan Martin again looked good at the Tour. He looked especially strong on the last, on what was it, stage 18 was the last one up the Col de Porte. I think he looked really strong there. Moscon usually pulls it out for some big races like this. You know, Cicconi's strong. I won't be picking Nibali, but I definitely think that Italy are a very strong team. Full of attackers, full of promise to definitely get on the podium here. Conrad, of course, won a stage in the Tour. But I think that's about it, really. If you need any help making your teams, put your teams in the comments below, and I'll try my best to respond to every single one of you, giving individual advice. Alternatively, go onto Twitter at Paddy Blake with an extra E on the end of it. I'll help you out there. And yeah, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, whatever the social media platform you like is. And all that's left to say is to enjoy the road race. I'll be up early on Saturday because it starts at 4 AM. And all I want to say is just keep your mask on, stay safe, and I'll talk to you next time. Salut!